I mean, I've gone kayaking a couple times, but I'm not a kayaker.
I wrote a poem, but that doesn't mean I'm a writer.
I love to make cookies and bars and cakes, and people really love them, but I'm not a baker.
You know what? I'm just not creative.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Be Brave. I'm Margie Simmons, and at Be Brave, we help people discover lasting personal change through courage, creativity, and community. And we believe that through practice and play and practicing in an undeniably supportive environment, that people can find their best mindset to be their most amazing selves. So today we are going to tackle the topic of labels. Ooh, sometimes labels get a bad rap, but we're going to take a twist on that and kind of show you the ups and downs of using labels and how by using labels, it can fuel you to be part of a larger community and to be your best self. I'm joined today by Jenny Lilladal. So excited to be able to spend some time with you, Jenny. So the next few minutes, we're going to dive into this topic. We're going to give you a few things that maybe you can take away and try. And then please know that everything that we do today comes from working from over 25 years with people just like you. So Jenny, this is a big topic, and it's kind of we'd like to challenge the norms of this topic.
Let's do it.
I
think we're going to push a little buttons, and we're going to really kind of go a little deep on this one. And I agree. There's the ups and downs of the word labels, and I think we all use labels for good, and we use them for bad. And we're gonna talk about how we can use them for our own benefit and the benefit of others. So on the bad side, obviously, labels can be separating. They can be stereotyping. We can make assumptions with labels. We can hurt people with labels. We can narrow people. We can put people in boxes with labels. Also, we can feel self-conscious with labels. We can use labels against ourselves. We can give our power away. You heard me at the top say, oh, I'm just not creative. I think, Margie, you've probably seen this too, but in the 30 years we've been teaching, I would say the most common thing I hear students say is, oh, I'm just not creative. It's just such a common label people place on themselves. And they become almost like false beliefs that we program into ourselves. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a writer. I'm not creative. And when we do that, we really limit ourselves and we limit other people. So what if we flip that around? What if we could choose? What if we got to decide? What if we could use them for good? Right, Margie?
Yes, I love it. And so when you choose a label, it actually attaches you to a larger community, which again, then there's that connection, right? So that's one way that labels can be used for good. Also, labels can help us as we continue to identify ourselves and kind of see where we fit in the world. Notice a little bit what labels you attach yourselves to, and then which ones that you hesitate on. So it helps us to practice developing our choosing muscles. And then another thing that labels can do that's really positive is that it can help us to find other people. I talked about connecting yourself to a larger community, but within that community, other people that share interests or a passion like you do, or believe some way the same way that you do, can also be really helpful when we're looking for connection. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about, I think one of the big pitfalls is, well, when do you know when a label fits or when you can choose to connect to a larger community in that way? I was living in Los Angeles. I had a friend come out to visit. I decided, let's go kayaking, which I don't know why I decided this now when I tell you the rest of the story, but it was my idea to go kayaking. There's a place down in the marina. And so my friend and I are in the parking lot and we're, figuring out where we're going to put our car keys. And I was like, oh, so we're going to go in the same kayak, right? And she was like, no, 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 no. We're going to get our own kayaks. And I was like, oh, okay. So we're on the dock and we're each in our own kayak. And the guy helping us out is about to launch me into the water. And I said to him, how do you steer? And he was like, wait a second. And I was like, and how do you stop, basically? And he got a weird look on his face and he was like, hey, wait, you've never kayaked? And as he's pushing me off the dock, I was like, no, but I'm going to start now. And so I figured it out. I figured out that it all has to do with your oar, your paddle, how you do that. We were navigating through Marina del Rey, through all of these huge houseboats. There are boats coming in. There's a lot of boat traffic, put it that way. But we did it. We did it somehow. And we got in, and I fell in love with kayaking that day. Went a few other times, in the next couple of months and started to get a little bit better at it. But when I think about it, like, when do I get to call myself a kayaker? Like, I'm a kayaker. I don't know when that is. I have never won an award for kayaking, although I've never entered a contest. So maybe I could. I've never, attached myself to that larger community of kayaking. But then it got me thinking, why not? Why don't we attach ourselves to larger communities? It's something that I'd like to learn a little bit more about. I'm passionate about. It's pretty fun. I wasn't sure I could do it, and then I tried it. It was a nice challenge for myself to get uncomfortable. And then so it just got me thinking, when do we label ourselves a
yeah,
kayaker?
I love that story because it's so real. We can all identify with that. We've all done this to ourselves, right? And I always imagine, like, is there some international association of kayak certification that you have to go apply to and then you become a kayaker? Like, that's how my brain sometimes works. Like, well, who out there externally has to approve my own label for myself? And sometimes we use, Margie, we were talking, sometimes we use the word identify with, like, or if you don't like the word label, you can use identify. But do you identify yourself as a kayaker now? Do you? A little bit.
Well, and then, we get into a larger conversation, Jenny. I haven't kayaked in a while. So then is there a length of time? It's all of these things. So now the weather's getting worse. I'm probably not going to kayak here in Minnesota this winter. I do think of myself as a kayaker, though. I feel pretty confident. I've done it in 3 different states. I'm feeling good about it. I'm going to continue to identify myself with a kayaker. I think I just went through our 4 teaching points of getting myself
and
here.
You're looking kayaky today. You're looking
good.
I have a story.
Thank you for that.
Okay,
thank you.
This is one that really stuck with me, and it actually probably impacted my work quite a bit and how I chose my career. But you've heard me tell this story before, but my 8th grade art teacher, and this is no lie, this is completely true. On the first day of class, we all sat down, and he started the class by saying, "Hi, I'm Mr. Blank, and I'm your art teacher, and it's my job to decide which one of you are artists and which one of you are not." And I remember thinking at that young age, like, that felt wrong to me. Like, so I couldn't quite identify why, but it felt like, hey, how come he gets to decide which one of us are artists? And I sort of believed him at that age. I was young enough to go, well, okay. And then for the rest of the year in art class, every day I kept thinking to myself, okay, am I an artist or am I not? What's he going to think about me? What is he going to decide about me? And to me, that's one of the pitfalls of this labeling thing that I fall into sometimes, is that when I give my power away and I decide, well, someone else has to tell me it's okay. And someone else has to decide that, you're an artist. No, you're not an artist. You're an artist. No, you're not. And so we'll talk about that today. And then, we talked about, with your kayaking story, My version of that is writing, and I've gone back and forth with myself too. Like, can I call myself a writer? One of the things I thought of, Margie, is what goes through my brain is, how do we define that label? So in my mind, without thinking of it subconsciously, I had decided to be a writer means you have to be paid or published. To be a writer means you have to get up at 5 a.m. and write. To be a writer, it means you have to have people read your writing and be, blah, blah, blah. But I created all of those thoughts. Those were self-created by me. I created that definition. And who said, like, who said that's the definition of writer? What helped me was having loving people in my life that I trust. My husband, people say, you are a writer. And sometimes it is okay to ask the external source because we get in our own way. So sometimes it is okay to go outside of yourself and ask a trusted friend about those identities. So we have a little 4-step kind of tool. Margie just demonstrated it, but we're going to kind of share it with you on if you're trying on labels and how you can use those to your benefit.
Yes. And Jenny, you are a writer, which is pretty fun. But we're going to take this back a step to number one, the first two internally. We need to find out for ourselves before we worry about the external labeling. How do we want to be labeled? And so the first teaching point is to just kind of notice where there is that resistance. So Jenny and I had a conversation. I'm just putting it all out there today, Jenny. I hope you're enjoying this tuning in. Jenny asked me if I thought of myself as an athlete, and I had some resistance to that. And yet I do things a lot that would probably be considered athletic or an endeavor. I enjoy it. I am passionate about it. And so for me, those internal questions are whatever that label is that you maybe are wondering about, where's that resistance coming from? And for me, and probably for most people, there's some sort of fear in being labeled or self-labeling yourself that way. So a fear of, hey, I'm probably not going to sign up for a marathon or other things that, I'm not going to win those awards for doing push-ups, but maybe I could, right? So then I think some of those hesitations. So notice the resistance is the first teaching point for today. And then the second teaching point dovetails right into that perfectly is get curious about it. So number one, where's that resistance coming from? And then maybe get curious. So for me, again, back to the athletics, well, maybe can I consider that I could consider myself an athlete and do some things to explore that a little bit, take some different types of classes or work out in a different way, or, just exploring that, getting curious about where that resistance is coming from can be really powerful.
I love that. Yeah. And that word curious is so powerful, Margie, because curiosity will replace fear and resistance. So if you're feeling that resistance and you're almost kind of pushing the idea away, getting curious about that is a real gentle way to allow yourself to dig into it without having to dive full, or dive full, go for it.
Yeah.
So that curiosity. All right. So those two, so resistance, curiosity. And then the third point is to do sort of instead of the opposite of resistance, which is, where does it fit for you? What pieces of the label or the identity are undeniable? So for example, you have kayaked, you enjoy kayaking, you like to kayak, you've kayaked in 3 states. Those are undeniable. Those are facts. Those do fit for you. If you decide you want to identify as a kayaker, you can do that. And this is where sometimes asking a friend helps. For me, like the writing thing was a sensitive one for me. So having someone cheer me on and say, heck yeah, look at how many things you've written in your life. It's undeniable. And then teaching point 4 is, guess what? you get to decide. You get to choose, and you get to choose for now, you get to choose forever, and nothing's permanent. You might be a kayaker this year, Margie, and then next year you might be like, I don't consider myself a kayaker anymore. I've moved on to canoeing or whatever. But we are all, and you always remind me of this, we are many things. We using the labels and the identities to limit yourself is what we're trying to challenge you to stop doing. And using labels and identities to expand yourself is what we're encouraging you to do. And so you are many things, and you get to decide today. Even it could be today I'm a person on a video teaching. I'm a video teacher today. Tomorrow I might be focusing on something else. The other thing we talked about, Margie, which I love, is and kind of now getting into the real sensitive topic, which we started on, this whole idea of being creative. So Margie and I share a belief, and we do at the Brave New Workshop share this belief that everyone is creative. You are born creative. It's undeniable. And we forget, maybe we don't practice, but we are creative. Everyone has creativity. And so identifying with that, finding ways to identify with that, and using this process could really help. Where's the resistance? Why are you resisting? Where's the fear? Get curious about it. Where do you find yourself being creative? And then choose how you get to be creative. And creativity is such a broad, we talked about this. You said your hairdresser. What was that little story you mentioned to me about your hairdresser?
Well, I got my hair cut for the first time since last February. And so I think it was just being in a room with a person again, just really got me thinking of I wonder if someone doing that job over and over and over again throughout their days thinks of themselves as a creative person, or if that's a job to be done. So this topic of creativity comes in so many forms, and that's where I really hope people can stop being tripped up by I'm not creative. Think of all of the different ways that people can be creative, just in hobbies or in ideation, or something you thought of a better system to do something at work. Those are all pieces of creativity. So maybe it is taking that step back, looking at what does creativity mean for me? And then again, cat's out of the bag. The job to do this week is probably going to be to try some of that on and challenge yourself on that. I'm going to summarize a little bit about what we talked about today. We really talked about where is that resistance to labels. So finding that, challenging yourself a little bit on that, get curious about it, and then find those yeses. Where are those places that, the attaching a label to yourself can be super positive, create your, attach yourself or identify yourself with a larger community, find those connections with other people. And then the fourth is we are all many things. So you're not tied to one label forever. We can be many things throughout, but the one thing that Jenny and I do believe is that we are all born creatively perfect. So find ways to practice that.
Yes, and that is what we're asking you to do. Find ways to practice that this week. Try on something. Share it with a friend if you need to. Post it in the Facebook group. Join the Be Brave Facebook group if you haven't already, and go ahead and post it in there. Even talk about what are the labels you're resisting, what are the labels you own deeply, and why. Just play with it. And this is back to our improv culture and how we practice all of this, Margie and I, and how we've learned this. One of the great things about this improv mindset is you do get to try things on. You get to try things on in a safe place and see how they feel. And that's what this is about. It's trying on what feels right to you, what labels you want, and then pushing yourself to accept those and stop limiting yourself. So do that this week. Try a few, share with each other, share with us. We love, love, love Love hearing from you.
Thanks so much, Jenny. I love hanging out with you. I learn so much from you every time we hang out together. And we love seeing all of you. So know that we are with you, and don't forget to be brave today. And we'll